Hello again. This is Mrs. Sullinger. I'm back here to explain to you how to do some of the assignments. I've had some questions about what the expectations are for the assignments. So I'm going to turn this around and now show you where we are. Again, this is the student view. And I've gone to the course and I've gone into the assignments tab here on the left. And I'm looking here at the key terms. Again, this is an elective assignment. So if you click on key terms for chapter 1, this will bring up the assignment. And what you need to do, it says, define the terms listed at the beginning of the chapter. So these are the terms that appear in the beginning of the chapter of your book. Behaviors, biology, determinants of health, health status, etc. You also have here the rubric that tells you how to get the points. So it tells you here that it's 1 point per term defined, and please include a reference such as your textbook or other source. So if you're using the textbook, please cite that. If you're using a different source, please cite that. After week 2, since that was not in the original rubric, 1 point will be deducted if the reference is not noted. All right, so that takes care of key terms. Let's go back, we can close that, and let's look at writing test questions. We'll look at the ones for chapter 1. So here what you're trying to do, the purpose of this is to think up your own test questions, not to copy something specifically, a question specifically from the book or the review questions. This allows you to sort of think like the instructor thinks and what kind of questions could possibly be asked. So the way that this works is you're going to write 2 questions that could be used as exam questions. They can be multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank, etc. You want to provide the answer and a rationale for each question. And remember to try and create your own question. So this is how the points work. For question 1, it's 1 point for the question, 1 point for the answer, and then 1 point for the rationale and 1 point for the reference. The same thing for question 2. So that is a total of 8 points. And here you see the rubric for that. And here's the 8-point total. So that is writing test questions. So we'll go back to the assignments. And it should open up here in a moment. It's been a little slow today. And we will go to the next section, which is the chapter review questions, another elective assignment. So if we go to chapter 1 review questions, there isn't really a rubric because it's 2 points per question. So what you need to do is answer the following questions and provide rationales for the correct answer, as well as a reference. So each question is worth 2 points, 1 point for the correct answer, 1 point for the rationale. Now, you are able to go into the Evolve resources and look under there for each chapter to find out the correct answer and the rationale. I only ask that you not copy and paste, that you do it in your own words. And I will post that link on the main modules page. But that's basically all you have to do. Answer the question and why it's the correct answer with a reference. And again, you can go to the Evolve resources, which I will show you momentarily. Actually, let me do that right now. Let me bring that over here for you. If you go to, you should have all received an email inviting you here. And let me look at this as a student. Well, it's telling me that it's not going to let me look at it as a student. Okay. So what we will do is, what you can do is you actually have resources for each chapter. So if we go into chapter 1, you have the instructor resources, which you won't have, those are mine, or you have the student resources for chapter 1. And what you want to look for is the answers and rationales for the review questions. So if you click on that, it will give you, in a moment, it should give you or maybe not, the correct answer and rationale for those questions. Let me go back here. You also have rationales for the critical thinking questions, which are not currently popping up at this time. So let me go down here and see if we can go to chapter 2, student resources, chapter 2, answers and rationales for the review questions. Okay, it's not showing me right now, but I'm sure if I sign back in again that it will do that. That's where you can go to get help with those questions. All right, looking at the growth and development templates. Someone had a question about those. So the way this works is that starting with chapter 7, which is growth and development, starting with the infant, and then for all those chapters that come after through 14, I believe, early childhood, middle, adolescence, early, middle, late adulthood, and advanced old age, there is a growth and development template. It is the same template for everything. It's a blank template. So what you have, if you go to this link here, this will pull up, it's a PDF. I might need to change it to a Word. I can try and do that. And this is the template. So your name, say we're doing infant. You don't have to worry about the review module chapter. You could say chapter 7. That's what you're reviewing. And here is the expected growth and development for an infant. What would you expect to see for physical, cognitive, psychosocial, age-appropriate activities? What are you looking at for health promotions? What what immunizations or health screening would be due? What would you expect them to eat? What would you be doing for injury prevention? If you're supposed to be able to type on these and save them and then submit them, if that doesn't work, you can make your own template and answer those questions and submit that as well. It also makes a really nice study guide. So I would be inclined to accept that as a study guide as well. Here is an example of a completed template. Let's see which one this is, the toddlers. 1 to 3, so that gives you an example of physical, cognitive, psychosocial development, and then different health promotion things that you're going to be pointing out to the family, immunizations that are needed, screenings, injury prevention, those types of things. So that almost pretty much summarizes the chapter. So that's the expectation for that. And then to please also include a reference. You can use the textbook as a reference or another source. Please cite your source if you're not using the book. Again, those are elective assignments. However, I would count them for the growth and development template as well as the study guide. And I will try and post a Word version of that, or you can make your own. So we'll go back to assignments, and then the study guide is another, oops, keep closing that, is another elective assignment. It's worth 10 points each. You have some different options here of things that you could do. Basically what the point of this assignment is to get you in tune with what type of study guide or what helps you learn best. So these are 2 different ideas here. You could use a growth and development template. There's one student that's turned it in already, and she's gone by chapter objectives. So you just answer those questions, and that's a pretty good way to have a study guide. Excuse me. So that is, you're going to submit that as a file upload, and that would be your study guide assignment. Again, these are all elective assignments. You can choose to do some of them, all of them in one category, different categories, but it is your responsibility to make sure that your point totals are correct. Discussions, we've gone over in the discussion forum, there are the discussion guidelines. Everybody's doing a really nice job with that so far. The critical thinking, Let's look at the critical thinking for chapter 2. Those are all worth 10 points. So what you'll see here is a question. Research what healthcare issues are currently being considered by California state legislators. Provide a link to one piece of legislation that is currently being considered, and then explain the impact it potentially has on healthcare professionals and provide another reference. And again, here's your rubric. So the link is worth 2 points. The explanation of the potential impact on healthcare professionals is worth 5 points. Hopefully you will do pros and cons. That would be nice. And then you need to provide at least one other reference, some link or something that has to do with that legislation or some way that you think it will impact healthcare workers. And that's worth 3 points, and that's where you get your 10 points. So each, let's see if it'll give us the next one here. No, it didn't do that. It's going by date due. So basically, you're answering the question. The early childhood toy evaluation, that's like one of my favorite ones. Just make sure that you remember you're doing this for an infant and a toddler. And it gives you the rubric. So please follow the rubric. If you follow the rubric, you should get the points. And then let's go back and see if there's anything else. We did the discussions, the critical thinking, the quizzes, you know about that, the paper we've reviewed. There are some learning activities. There is the syllabus review activity, which some students have done already. These are not worth points. Here's a link to the Google Doc, and you can see where people have, it's a syllabus review, so people have written down points that they have taken away from the syllabus. It's a good way to make sure that people understand the syllabus and to see if they have any questions. Again, it's not mandatory, however, it is very helpful to you. And then the Google Hangouts assignment, again, not mandatory, but it's a good way to get a hold of everybody, keep in touch with things that are going on. There's also beliefs and values activity and a communication styles activity. Those are for week 2. So those are due, and then you may see some other activities throughout the course. However, I try not to do too many because I know you're working on your paper and then your capstone. So that covers those. Let's go up and look at the capstone, the group project family case study. And so this is one where you're going to choose your own groups to be in. And so what you're going to do is we're looking at applying the concepts throughout the 6 weeks of the summer semester. So groups of 2 to 3 students are going to work together, and you're going to choose a family from the real world. Anything, TV, movie, cartoon, family in the news, literature, hopefully a family most people would know. Try to find a family that has members from different developmental stages, and run it by me to make sure that it's approved by the end of week 4. Base your information from the show, movies, etc., all of that on the examples of development, and the family members may be different developmental stages than they should be. So like you think about The Simpsons, for example, Lisa is very advanced and Homer is not quite where he should be as an adult. So what you need to do is present the family, introduce each family member. Is it a functional, dysfunctional family? How do they communicate? Give an example of that. And then for 2 of the family members, give an example of where they are developmentally, cognitively, psychosocially, morally. If it's a child, say you're choosing Lisa, for example, from The Simpsons, then you would also refer to Vygotsky and his language theory. If you were choosing an adult, then you could choose one of the following: Levenger, Levinson, Havinghurst, Peck, or Atchley, depending on the age of the adult. And then you want to choose another, 2 more family members and describe examples of development. So for this, you're not going to choose all of these. You're going to choose 2 different ones than what you've chosen above, which is why it's nice to have a family with a wide variety of members. So for example, you could choose the baby. If you were doing The Simpsons, you could choose the baby because she's an infant, and then you could also choose the grandpa because he's late adulthood, and talk about one goal of late adulthood. Maybe if he's had a goal, like I know he likes to date the ladies, and then one normal physical age-related change. For example, I believe he wears glasses and has a hearing aid, so something along those lines. So be creative in your presentation of the information. You can submit it as a video, a paper, brochure, poster, family tree, something like that. You're not required to physically meet with each other, but hopefully once everybody's in Google Hangouts, you could do a Google Doc. That would be helpful. You can do a PowerPoint or Google Slides, just talking about it. However you want to do it, just be creative and have fun. And then there's the rubric of how that all works out, and that's worth 100 points. And so I believe that concludes the review of the assignments. As always, please let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.